Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinars, our endeavor to empower techies. This December, TechGig is conducting webinar series on software project management. Today's session is the 8th in the series, and topic for today is Leadership of Global PMO to Meet Global Challenges. We are delighted to have Mr. Sushil Kumar Kamble, Senior Project Manager at Reliance Global Com Limited with us today. Mr. Sushil is a certified IT and telecom project manager, project management professional, Six Sigma Green Belt, and lead auditor. He is currently working as senior project manager in Global PMO division, involved in assisting managing global projects related to subsea network constructions, IP backbone reengineering, IP POP implementations, and network OSS platform support integrations. He has more than 13 years of experience in the field of operations, project management, PMO, IT, telecom, training, and management consultancy. Gentlemen, this presentation will continue for next 45 minutes, and we will take your questions after the presentation. In the meanwhile, you can post your queries to the chat pane available in the webinar software. We will also be asking few quiz questions related to today's topic. Please post your answers on techgig.com only. Exciting gifts will be given to the participant who gives the best answer to the questions. Without further ado, I introduce to our guest speaker, Mr. Sushil.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sushil here, Sushil Kumar Kamble. I'm really thankful to techgig.com for offering this opportunity, and to my organization also, including my Global Project Management, GPmo Director, Mr. Mukesh Jain, for supporting me in this presentation, so that I speak to this august audience on the topic Leadership of Global PMO to Meet Global Challenges. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Please note that I may not be able to get into specifics due to limitation posed by the topic of this session and the time allocated to me. However, I will try my best to answer your queries, and if something is left, then you can separately continue after this session with me. In my role as project manager, I was fortunate to work with some of the world's leading organizations. Prominently, these organizations pose a single question on me: how to manage the challenges brought by projects with global scope. The answer to this question never came so easy. Indeed, they came but with lots of limitation and inherent challenges. Can the leadership of Global PMO bring that competency to handle these global challenges and achieve the business goals set by the organization? Through my presentation, I shall endeavor to bring some interesting facts and probable mechanism to deal with global projects. I'll be covering my presentation under following subtopics. What is GPmo, Global Project Management Office, or we can say Program Management Office? What are the benefits of GPMO? What are the typical global challenges of GPMO? What can be the process framework of GPMO? What can be the guideline for setting up a GPMO office in your organization? For years, IT and telecom organizations have struggled to deliver projects on time and within budget. But with today's global business having emphasis on greater revenue, it has to lead projects more closely than ever, with definitely a higher level of understanding of global dynamism. Therefore, today business challenges have led many organizations to turn to global project management offices as a way to boost central control, efficiency, cost cutting, and improve on-time delivery in terms of time and budget. Just a second, okay. Okay, I'm sorry for interruption. How to transform a vision of a company into action or goals that we intend to achieve through a global project management office. You see, and we also know that visions are actually converted into goals. Okay, because performing organizations are proficient at innovation, and innovative organizations stand out for their competitive advantage and ability to transform strategy into execution. Global PMO is in reality drives the way the organization builds and manages their vision into strategy and execution to enable them to plan and control to achieve desired goals. They manage the dynamics of organizations, people, processes, and technology. This innovative approach allows us to manage the goals and desired performance. However, many GPMO initiatives struggles to keep their feet on ground. The reasons why many GPMO implementation have failed are lack of mapping strategy into execution of projects, lack of innovation in solution scalability, lack of speed of delivery in time to market, lack of defined governance and standards, lack of understanding on global dynamism, lack of certain level of education and training which is required in global project management office. How can the GPMO bridge the gap between internal and external stakeholders? If you see on the right hand side, you'll find a typical matrix organizations headed by a global project management office. We have several project managers, and based on the requirement of the projects, the resources or skill sets are pulled in from different functional departments. On the left hand side, you will see in the center the global project management office is there, which is actually getting integrated to your internal resources, communicating management. You have vendors, global vendors, you have global customers. One complex factor is that an increasing number of project activities are no longer confined within the boundaries of an organization, or even confined within the boundaries of geographical regions. Today, it is not unusual to have a product designed in one country with prototypes and production occurring in another. Or it is not unusual for IT integration projects to be unfolded across many business units throughout the globe. We can argue that all the projects are basically the same, regardless of where in the world they take place. After all, they proceed through the same stages from initiation to closing. And the management and control processes within each stages are more similar than they are different. If we accept this argument, then projects are same regardless of where they occur. But the evidence, including my own experience with clients in India, Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and US, points to some important significant differences once you cross borders. Work processes are different, governance structures are different, communications are different, stakeholder involvement is at a different level, and organizational cultures are different. And unless these differences are recognized, it may be more difficult to succeed by using the concepts, methodologies, procedures, tools, and templates that support the project management processes. Sometimes these differences explain why deliveries are late, why qualities have been disappointing, why costs are higher than expected, why business trips to supply are frustrating, and why instructions are not followed. Therefore, understanding the why can help in improving the processes and meeting the desired goal. Do we need to bear the overhead of having a global project management office? If yes, then what are the results that can benefit the organization? Project management processes are applied at project level. Since we assume that the project itself has some business value, you should be able to show that project management processes have value if help you to complete the project within expectations. Taking this one step further, you might think that if project management is good, since it helps to deliver the projects within expectation, then there should be value associated with growth that will help implement project management processes. However, not all companies view it this way. And a PMO does not mean the same thing in every company. For one thing, the PMO does not always manage the projects, and in many organizations, the PMO does not have direct project connection. It is indirect. So the value proposition for a PMO can be less tangible and more subjective. An organization typically needs to be of certain size before the cost associated with PMO becomes beneficial. At one extreme, you will only have small projects, one small project per year. You do not need to have a PMO since it is much less expensive to provide dedicated project management training and support to one project. If you have a handful of projects every year, you may still be able to get by with the few project managers collaborating and agreeing to a certain set of common processes and templates. Now, let's go to the other extreme. Let's say you have a large, diverse organization that delivers dozens, hundreds, or thousands of projects per year. In this environment, a centralized global project management office makes greater sense to ensure that all project managers have a core set of project management skills, common processes and templates. The Global Project Management Office also acts as the owner of the project management methodologies and a support organization that project managers can utilize for project management assistance. In addition, the PO can serve as a place for providing an organization-wide view of the status of all the projects and can report on the improvements being made to project delivery capabilities over time. Let's see what Global Project Management Office can benefit, or what are the tangible benefits which you can gain from Global Project Management Office. At a high level, a Global Project Management Office is generally being viewed as an essential component that enables the success of projects, hence the future success of entire organization. At a more day-to-day level, the value provided by PMO can be summarized as 1. It significantly improves on-time global project delivery through better project management methodologies and optimal utilization of global resources. 2. Increase the overall flow of projects from the system through concerted efforts and prioritizing projects based on business needs. Improve control over project budgets and revenue through continually risk assessment and mitigation actions. 4. It makes team effort meaningful and easier for everyone by bringing full transparency across entire organization, standard processes, procedures, tool template, a robust culture of active task management or project task management. It predicts accurately and time-reliable opportunity to leverage the existing knowledge which you have gained experience, and it can also give care as a team. 5th, risk reward analysis for management decision on to be bringing
Hello.
and
Sorry for
on
interrupting.
GPmo.
Actually,
The last one, bullet point. I just want to give an example. Hello.
hello. The audio is not very much clear. It's breaking in between. So can you please check there?
Yeah. Clear now? Is it clear?
It's a bit better, but even now
Hello?
we are receiving feedback from a lot of participants
Keshav,
also.
is it clear?
It's a little bit clear, but it's not too audible even now.
Uh, okay. If now it's clear.
Better now.
Hello.
We can go ahead with this. Yeah, it's much better. Thanks.
Keshav, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what is the reason. Okay, we'll proceed. Slide here. How we manage the project through a dashboard, because it becomes very easy for us on two slides a project which is worth around $1 million, or on a single slide how we can indicate what can be the progress of a project for management to review a project. This is where we are trying to indicate what is the plan for the project, objective, scope, what is the progress right now, and what are the risk and constraint, because management would like to focus on risk and constraint so that they can deploy all their energy on mitigating all this risk and constraints. Now on the second slide, what we show is what the project looks like, what are the key milestones which we are targeting to achieve, and on our dashboard using some color code like green, red, yellow, we indicate the status of the project. These are important things for the management to take immediate decisions, because most of the time what we try to do is we try to confuse the management by putting a lot of information with no solution. Using two slides, we generally go to the management and take inputs so that risk can be mitigated and the project deliverables can be achieved on time. This is just an example to share with you. Now let me go to what are the global challenges for Global Project Management Office. The global project challenges can be obvious or perhaps not so obvious. Either way, there will rarely be a single approach that best suits any challenge on global projects. With this in mind, being well informed is a responsibility for any prudent manager in today's global business environment. The connection between strategy and reality is actually a project. Therefore, in order to connect global strategies with success, it is important to be able to successfully deploy projects on global scale. Global organizational strategy is often focused on leveraging multiple locations in order to achieve or drive business performance and growth. Global organizations with links in many different locations are required to understand culture, comply with local rules and regulation, and at times international standards, and many times we need to do the PEST, the political, economical, social and technological analysis. As they drive the global projects, there are a lot of other challenges related to financial and political issues like currency fluctuations or political issues, which is like, for example, happening in Egypt. I may not be able to cover these two issues in this presentation, but they are equally important for the success of global projects. Now the challenge number one, which is witnessed in almost all the projects, is logistic. The application of global discipline is essential as the geographically separation of global projects acts to magnify challenges found on any project. The important element is how good your PEST is. Okay. The challenge number one, which talks about logistic, geography, time zone, and different jurisdictions. Logistics are made more complex by differences in geography, time zone, and jurisdictions. There, we need to understand which project structure to follow. Are we going to structure our project based on geographical, organizational, political, or functional definitions? Or looking at the team selection, what resources are required? Are the roles and responsibilities of these resources competent for this project? Where can we source people? And ultimately, do you select them based upon capability or availability? Then we look at the various time zones. How will you communicate across different time zones? Direct consequences of time zones effect include teleconferences at awkward times to accommodate member of global team, miscommunication, and increased time required to conclude on a communication or on an issue. Then travel and accommodation also becomes a biggest challenge because there is no substitute for face-to-face meetings, particularly for senior stakeholders and cross-functional teams. When travel is required, objective of the face-to-face meeting should be clearly established to ensure meeting outcomes are maximized. Then we need to understand jurisdictions. Within a country or within a state or a province or a city, you will come across a second set of rules, second set of law, You'll find national or religious holidays within different religious holidays, and you'll find different hours of operations. This difference has a serious impact on global projects. Simple things like local holidays, religious periods, and hour of operations can be easily overlooked, but they have a profound impact on global projects. Challenge number 2 is culture and language. Culture is often the single reason for global project difficulties. It is a reason requiring minimal explanation or justification, and typically translates into that's the way we do it here. The meeting of different cultures. Cultural diversity within a team can bring fresh perspectives or innovative solutions. However, cultural diversity can also bring a heightened sensitivity to minor infractions and perceived insults. Governance. Project governance structures can often indicate how culturally aware an organization is. For example, regional heads of the business can be appointed from the home country or sourced locally, but the strength or weakness of either approach is surprisingly difficult to ascertain. Value conflicts. Project staff may be intellectually aware of cultural differences. Example, people-centric versus result-centric. Small differences of interpretation can trigger antipathy or hostile feeling. Language barriers. The most basic type of language barriers is when different languages are used by different teams due to multiple geographical locations. When this occurs, it is useful to select a common project language and common naming conventions to ensure that everyone speaks the same project language. Challenge number 3, stakeholders engagement. Stakeholders are any person or organization with an interest in the progress or outcome of the global project, either because they are part of it or affected by the deliverables. The challenges of stakeholder engagement are by no means unique to global projects, but when looked through cultural barriers and geographical distances, they become acutely more complex. Initial kickoff meetings. Getting things right at the start is critical. A face-to-face kickoff with all the key stakeholders is essential to ensure everyone is aligned and hears the same story and is given the same starting point. The manner in which a new global project is communicated to all the stakeholders is critical to ensure stakeholder involvement and commitment. Maintaining momentum. The duration of any global projects can be years. Building and maintaining momentum in a multi-year or a multi-region project is always a significant challenge. Otherwise, the project loses its momentum. Supporting business as usual. When different locations are involved with global projects, consideration should be given to available resources in individual locations. Frequently, the number of resources in a particular location reflects the business as usual requirement. It does not take into consideration the level of global project activity. Rigorous stakeholder analysis. It is important to be aware of who the stakeholders are. Each time there is a stakeholder chain, there is a potential impact, and this must be communicated to everyone through a prescribed communication plan. Challenge number 4, the solution design. The end product of many global projects is often a defined combination of process and technology termed as solution. Agreeing on what the solution is should be the focus of virtually all involved parties. That includes architecture. What is the architecture of the solution? What is the level of process clarity that is given to the stakeholders? And it also brings accountability for processes. Core or mandatory rules, it should be clearly identified or it should be distinguished that which are the core and mandatory elements which can be modified or can be kept as an optional. Beyond implementation, things which are generally neglected, which includes item associated with the project but does not considered as deliverable for the project, which includes business as usual support and ongoing enhancements. Example can be documentation, support warranties, or after sales support, after delivery support, like that. Challenge number 5 is sourcing. Sourcing is a typical issue in today's globalized business environment. Many global organizations are involved with sourcing at one level or another. Organizations, large and small, are taking advantage of sourcing in order to gain strategic advantages, cost savings, and process improvements. In this, we have multi-vendor coordination. Typically, large multinational contracts involves multiple vendors across geographies. In situations where teams across vendor need to work together to implement large-scale scope, the absence of clearly demarcated roles and responsibilities can result in missed deadlines. This challenge can also be relevant where the capability may differ for the same vendor in different countries. Delivery practices, sourcing relationship involving large corporations and service providers faces issues relating to difference in delivery models like payment on delivery or post delivery and all those things. It can hold up project for a long time if these issues are not resolved on time. Having seen the challenges, global challenges, what can be the framework? How we can form a global project management office which can look into these aspects of global challenges. Encourage collaboration but focus on standardization. It seems to be really appealing but challenging to execute. It is the ability to establish collaborative rather than just standardized project goals. In other words, prescribe where, what and when something has to be done, but allow greater flexibility on how something should be done and even who should do it. The use of high-tech tools to help many global teams work better together has been an interesting tool. There is a significant use of interactive bulletin boards like wikis, collaboration tools, instant messaging, video conferencing, and of course emails. Such constant communication between team members allows for team members to feel virtually close. Planning is priceless. Plans are useless. Let's see how the Global Project Management Office conceptual process flow builds up. Now you must be very clear with the various phases of project: the project initiation phase, project planning phase, project execution and control, and project closure. Now during a project initiation phase, you identify a business opportunity based on the opportunity available at global level, which is provided by the product sales team. This gets converted into your business requirement, and then you nominate a project manager through a global project management office, and then you design, then you provide resources, then you do the risk analysis. After this, once these business requirements are captured, a team is formed to make a proposal document, and this proposal document is approved by management, and then Global Project Management Office informs that this project has commenced. Then we get into planning phase, where we prepare a detailed project plan, and in the detailed project plan, after we make the detailed project plan, we do a risk assessment of various risks. Who will be the stakeholders, what will be the procurement issues, how we are going to do the resourcing on a global level, what will be the key milestones, deliverables, and checklist. Once this assessment is done, which is approved by Global Project Management Office, we form a project initiation document. A project initiation document is a Bible for the entire project. In PMP terms, it is also known as project charter or project initiation document, something like that. And this PID document is approved, and then you call for a kickoff meeting. Now this PID document is a standard document given to all the stakeholders, so they come on the same platform during the kickoff meeting. Once the meeting is kicked off as desired by the project manager or by the organization, then we get into execution stage. Execution and control, it happens together. If you can look at the flow has been indicated in a in a very transparent manner, where you can see how things happen, how you track the project to execution. You track the project and lead the project to execution, how we keep on identifying the risk and continually mitigating the risk. Then in control, you do the gap assessment. There you will find some change requests coming up, and then how you incorporate those change requests into your project plan, and then how you bill accordingly for to the customer. Then you build a contingency plan also, and there are various points on quality, time, and budget. Once the project is successfully closed, I mean you achieve the deliverables, then there has to be some closure activities where you acknowledge the resources and release them. Deliverables are accepted. You capture the lessons learned, document it, and then issue a project. You close the procurement issues in terms of financial settlement, and then you issue a final project closure report, and this project is closed. Now, to support this process, and this process is general in nature, it can be modified as per your requirement, as the organization wants or the stakeholders they want. But once you standardize it, it is standardized for the entire organization. Now, to support this process, we have supporting documents. Now, what can be these supporting documents? Because on a global project, nothing is clear until the paperwork is clear. So you need to have a clear paperwork, documentation, and during each phases you produce a lot of documentation. For example, in project initiation phase, there is a business requirement document, there is a technical solution design document, project feasibility report is there, project proposal is there, then there is a management approval, and then the project approval document. In the project planning phase, you will have a project plan, project risk assessment document, project resource document, project checklist, and then you will have project initiation document, which is approved by GPmo, and then this document is used during the kickoff meeting. Hello, Keshav, is my voice clear now? Hello?
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay, because I got a message, pop-up message that voice is not clear. Okay. Now, in execution phase, you actually make a project progress tracker document, and then you have a project plan of work. Then you identify RAID log. You keep a basically RAID log where you identify the risk, what are the action needs to be taken, what are the issues, what are the dependencies. Then you have minutes of the meeting document and a project dashboard, which I have shown it to you earlier also. In the control, you will have a gap assessment document, change request document, project contingency document, project quality check audit document, and then you will have report in the form of weekly and monthly reports, which is served to management. In the project closure phase, you will have a quality acceptance audit report, variance analysis report, which indicates planned versus actual, deliverables, and OWL, which stand for outstanding work list. In case you are unable to deliver the project with required deliverables, but these deliverables can be provided at a later stage also, but later stage, and they don't have much of impact on present deliverables. So that comes as an outstanding work list. And then you have a financial closure report. You capture the lessons learned during the project, and then you prepare a project closure report. Just okay. Remember, encourage collaboration, but the focus should be on standardization. Now you want to set up a global project management office, because most of the organization they suddenly decide that though we run the project, but we don't have a central mechanism to control all the projects. So we want to set up. So there are a lot of challenges when you're setting up a global project management office. Now, if local project performance is poor, or even worse or unknown, then your organization should ensure that it invests properly or appropriately to prepare for a global stage. Projects are hard, and they get harder as organizations strive to obtain performance and growth on a global scale. The enemies are more inside than outside, so be aware of that and ensure that we maintain peace, and therefore Please be cautious of these things when you're setting up, when you're initiating uh, GPMO initiative. Boundary culture. If your organization decides to form a global project management office and you're pushed to take the leadership, please ensure that you don't hurry up and fall into one of these pitfalls. The first one, which is very common, is a boundary culture. Generally, people don't like suddenly somebody coming out of blues and start infringing into their territory for monitoring and controlling, which most of people may have witnessed when they come across such initiatives. Secretive culture. Also, sometimes people are not willing to disclose the process they follow, contact points they have, and there are other things because they believe that this will make their presence and job insecure in the organization. Change management. People are comfortable with the way they are working. Bringing any sudden change in the way they work will not be appreciated well and sometimes rejected upfront. Redundant resources. Identify the redundant resources but never try to displace them upfront, and always try to use them in more useful functions or role before taking any decision on redundancy. And last, sustenance is the key. Every new initiative, if not sustained, would surely vanish within few days of implementation. It is important to devise mechanism for sustenance through training and standardized processes and various other systems. Planning is, during planning, remember the discipline and the patience required for implementing is not so easy. Do it through a mandate and follow it. How are we going to do it? You divide your implementation into 4 phases. For example, you can have 2 or 3 phases also. First phase is preparation phase. Now, the most important thing in the phase 1, which is preparation, is issue top mandate to document following of each department, functions of each department, process and process maps, various checkpoints, various tangible and intangible stakeholders, role and responsibilities of each resources along with the responsibility matrix, clearly defining the expected deliverables with inputs and outputs, current monitoring and measuring and reporting procedures and systems. Then you get into analysis phase. Once you collect these documents or these processes, get into analysis phase, analyze and integrate each department into overall organization structure. Though it is already there, but you need to redefine it again. Evaluating the usefulness and credibility of each monitoring, measuring, and reporting system vis-a-vis deliverables and organizational objectives. Creating better and meaningful monitoring, measuring, and reporting system, process, and templates. You can reuse what was existing, or you can reinvent if you find something needs to be put there. Standardizing the reports as per the departmental needs with requirement of management and organization. Ensure that existing process and procedures are addressing the global project challenges. So whatever we just went through the challenges which we have seen in the previous slides, so those is to be incorporated during the analysis phase. Implementation phase. Publish the GPMO operating handbook. There has to be a Bible for Global Project Management Office. It's a guidebook where you collate all the formats, all the templates, you identify what to be the guidelines of Global Project Management Office. Then you need to have schedule of reports, whether it is half-yearly, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. And then you need to have standard templates which can be utilized by Global Project Managers of GPmo. Then you create a central repository for all such reports through graphical user interface systems for all the departments if they want to get interlinked with GPO. Standardizing the communication and reporting format templates for project teams, meetings, and management reporting. Then you get into, once this implementation happens, then what is most important is sustenance. In the sustenance phase, you organize a weekly, monthly report, monthly meeting with HOD as per the pre-circulated agendas for looking into the processes of GPMO, whether it needs to be improved or something needs to be removed. So those things can happen. Review and improve the GPMO process and procedure and publish what is new. And every time there is a change, you need to publish, because your people are not restricted to a particular location, because it's a uh, global domain, and people are located in a geographically different locations. They devise a communication for implementation and, more important, sustenance of this initiative, because every initiative collapses after some time if it is not sustained. Parallelly, you must offer training and get the people involved into the Global Project Management Office. So this was my last slide of this presentation. I hope I have covered all the agendas which I was explaining in the beginning of this presentation. What is Global Project Management Office? What can be the benefits? And what are the typical global challenges? What can be the process framework when you want to start a Global Project Management Office? And what can be the implementation phases? So, Keshav, I've finished here. Do you have any questions from the participants? Hello.
Can you see the questions in the questions pane?
Just okay. The question which has come is, as the culture differ for each country, how can we ensure that people responsible for GPMO act accordingly and in compliance? Just a second. Okay, now let me see. Okay. Okay, as the culture differs for each country, how can we ensure that people responsible for GPMO act accordingly and in compliance to each country culture? For example, an American in GPMO may not understand the business culture in Middle East. Okay. This question has come from Adil Mohammed. Adil, as we know, there are cultural differences. These are I say these are intangible issues. You actually cannot document these things. This has to come from experience. When I indicated the challenges which are there in the global projects, that means we need to take note of these important issues related to culture. But on a documentation side, it's quite difficult. So it actually comes with the experience. That's how I learned while executing a lot of projects on a global platform. I hope, Adil, this answers your question, because I may not be able to do these are standard sets of rules and regulation when you're dealing with people in the Middle East. These are standard sets of rules and regulation when you're dealing with people in US or UK. This cannot be documented. This has to actually come from experience. Yes, the communication is key. I mean, you communicate with your stakeholder in a nice and proper manner with good salutation, and that's also purpose, I believe. Now, in the second question, if a large organizations implement, say, 1,000 projects per year, how GPmo can ensure timely response is given? How big this GPMO office be? How many people to ensure timely response? How many projects are prioritized? Okay, this seems to be a really good question. For example, it's quite hypothetical that so many projects in 1 year, because I also spoke during my presentation thousands of projects. Assuming that there are thousands of projects per year. Now we need to standardize the process. We need to balance how one PMO or one project manager can handle how many projects. So that balancing act has to come from the director of Global Project Management Office, who need to understand who's handling what is the loading capacity loading on each project manager. Based on that, Based on that, he can delegate the projects to everyone so that everyone is equally balanced. Now, how can we set up a mechanism like this? So what we have done in our organization is that, for example, right now I'm handling 5 projects. Now my capacity is actually exhausted. So they also know that, and we have a central mechanism of dashboard, which I showed it to you, where we keep on measuring the performance on weekly and monthly basis, and accordingly we load the people. This question was just a second. Okay, a lot of questions are scrolling up and down. I know whose question was it. Okay, I'll go to the first, which has come from, what is the difference you see between managing product and projects? For me, the product and projects are almost same, because project is also going to deliver a tangible result which will bring revenue, and a product will also deliver a tangible benefit which will again bring revenue. So managing a product and managing a project brings almost same challenges. Maybe Ramesh, with your experience, you may have different opinion, because my experience, because in telecommunication industry, we have bandwidth capacity available. We sell in a different format. Like we sell it as a voice, as a data, as a carrier, as an enterprise. So we sell in different. We make different product out of it and sell it to various consumers. But for me, the challenge is that how you implement that project. So this product is sold from that project. So product needs to be managed as a project only. And if you have something, we can discuss it later on also. Kindly elaborate TLA, 3-letter. What? Okay, KRA. KRA stand for key research areas, which is every individual in an organization. Maybe yours also, I'm not sure. But in my organization, we have defined KRAs for various people for a project. Yeah. Yeah, we have KRAs for different people, and KRAs are defined based on type of role or type of job they are handling right now. So these are KRAs are used for measuring you against defined predefined line items. I mean, you define what are you going to do in this particular year. So you define various KRAs as a project manager, for example, delivery of project on time, or improving the processes. So these becomes your KRA, and your end of the year, or maybe on monthly or quarterly basis, you're measured on these KRAs. Regarding the next question is Shubha. Yeah, who's there online?
Yeah, Kamlesh, this is Ashok Das.
Yeah, Mr. Ashok,
Are you
tell me.
getting? Yeah. As you told that PID is as a project charter, then why it is in planning phase, not in initiating process? That is, the project charter is proved that project existence, and before starting planning, we should have the project charter approved. So why it is in planning phase, not in PID in GPMO framework?
Okay, you mean to say why this PID is? See, when I say project charter can be a single page document, right? Mr. Ashok, is it right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it can be a single page, but so project charter on a broader level defines what this project is all about, which is actually a part of PID. When you say project initiation document, I would like to show you something. Just a second, I'll show it on my screen only. So, yes. So you will understand what PID consists of. So it's basically PID is far more elaborative than a project charter, where you fix up the roles and responsibilities, where you fix up, where you define what exactly the project plan is like. Just a second, I'll show it to you. I think uh, I think my computer has actually gone slow. Just a second, I'll show it to you. Meanwhile, I'll just pick up this question. See, Mr. Ashok, one thing which I want to highlight here is that the framework which is given in PMP, or you can say defined by PMBOK, are the real good ones. I don't have any doubts about that. How you use them in your day-to-day activities, that matters a lot. So when you say that the project charter should be in the beginning, because project charter suddenly when your sales team, they get an offer, they get a sales order from a customer, you immediately don't frame a project charter. You need to go through a process called proposal bidding. You define the you make a proposal. In the process, you need to have a lot of elements. What will be the cost of this project? Who will be the stakeholder? How will what will be the key milestone and all those things, which you will try to capture in your PID. And the front page of the PID can be your project charter, briefly explained. The project charter is given by the project owner, who's the boss of the organization. In my case, my CTO, he gives me the project charter, and he owns it. So that document is actually part of PID document. So I hope this, I would have shown you a sample PID, how we make the PID, and it's quite an exhaustive document which contains a lot of things. Who will be the resources, what is the plan of work, what are the key milestones, how the organization, this project organization will look like, what will be the standard communication tool which will be utilized, what will be the standard documents, how frequently we are going to have a meeting. So all those things is getting captured. It also covers what is the business objective of this project, what is the scope of this project, who are the what are the resources required on these projects. So all those things are getting captured. I hope, Mr. Ashok, this answers your queries. Or in case you have something else, what we can do is we can discuss it offline also. I'll take the second next question online. Okay, regarding the stakeholder engagement, should they be looking at ROI, return on investment, or total cost of ownership? Okay, this has come from Shubha. Shubha, I mean, when you say ROI, stakeholder engagement, should we be looking at ROI, return on investment, or total cost of ownership? I think we should look at both the things. These are, I think your question is quite open-ended. We can debate endlessly whether we should look at the return on investment or on total cost of ownership. I'll take your second question, which is regarding stakeholder engagement. Should they be looking at ROI? I think she repeated the same question. Shubha, I think we should look at both the things, because from a business perspective, the return of investment is important, and from total cost of ownership perspective, that is also equally important. So you need to balance and find out a way which can suit both the requirements. That's how I look at it. Okay, as the next question is from Vinod Kumar. Hi, as the global challenges are almost have similarity to the projects running at one geography or a location, what is the challenge for a project in a global organization? Is it GPMO going to sit with business heads in reality? How things would operate, say for example, in case of retail setup at different location? The okay, what is challenge for project in global organization? I think Vinod, during my course of presentation, I have covered these things. Maybe when you posted this question, I may not have covered this thing, your query, but I hope your query is already covered during my presentation. Hi, as the global challenges, the next question is again from Vinod. Okay, Vinod has posted the same question again. Vinod has posted the same question again. Okay, Adil Mohammed, I have answered your query. Okay, this question I was trying to answer and there was some interruption that time, which says if a large organization implements, say, 1,000 projects per year, how global project manager GPMO can ensure timely response is given? How big this GPMO office should be? How many people to ensure timely response? How projects are prioritized? Okay. Now, first question is how GPMO can ensure timely response is given. Now, we follow a dashboard mechanism where anything which goes red is actually read across the global platform. I mean, if management also understand this is a serious issue, the teams also understand. So this is how we indicate that we require a timely response on this issue. How big the GPMO office could be? Okay, GPMO office can be, you can keep on expanding as per the number of projects you are owning, and you have to look at the capacity and capability of each project manager who's there in the global project management office, and then you can delegate the projects accordingly. How many people to ensure timely response? I think if you have a central mechanism like what we have in our organization, we use SharePoint. It's a collaborative tool where every project manager is required to post his feedback on SharePoint. There is a central plan, there's a dashboard mechanism, and through that, not many people are required except project managers. I mean, I don't think so anybody is required except project managers to do this job. How projects are prioritized? Now this is a very good question, because how projects are, how you are going to prioritize the project? The simple answer is on the business need. That's because we are here to do business, and if you find a project is going to give you return at a very later stage, and it's going to consume lot of resources from your side in terms of cost and manpower, and there is another project, second project, which is going to immediately repay you the money. So management has to decide that which is beneficial, and there are a lot of ifs and buts in terms of strategic benefits, in terms of customer benefits, in terms of other benefits also. So that call has to be taken by management, whether project A has to go first or project B has to go first. And then based on management decision, because management got a overview of how the projects are running in the organization through a central mechanism called Global PMO. And in consultation with Global PMO, they can take a call which project needs to be pipeline first, and then the second, and then third, and subsequently. I think Adil, I've answered your query. And what we do is we in our organization we have a pipeline model. We know that we are limited in resources, because resources are never unlimited. Resources include manpower, money, and your machineries. So keeping that into your mind, management takes the decision, and there's a pipeline, and in this pipeline, how many projects we can push through at this point of time. So they keep on deciding, and there are push-pull of projects happens in consultation with management, and those projects which gets the priority has to go for a relay race. I mean, they have to go on a relay race, complete the project as early as possible, release the resources so it's available for other people to use it. Please explain more about project closure report. Okay, project closure report is basically when you're closing the project. This has come from Chandra Singh. Chandra Singh, if you require, I can give you the bullet points how the project closure reports are made. But for the forum, because a lot of people are there on the forum, you can have a project closure report covering a lot of aspects. Like there has to be a closure for deliverables, what was decided in the beginning of the project, that these are the deliverables, and it should meet the audit or quality requirement of the end user. You can say customer also. So audit has to be in place. Then you need to measure yourself in terms of time, the baseline time, the project baseline. What was the baseline when you planned the project, and what is the baseline when you are completing the project? So why there is a difference? So you capture those differences. What are the reasons? So you need to document these things, because these things are almost similar on a global scale. So once you document this, this is used as a knowledge base, as a knowledge tool by a lot of other people in the organization. So they can use what lessons we have learned from the previous project similar to this one. So those knowledge areas are covered. I mean, the knowledge are captured and kept at the central place, and it can be used. So you don't fall into the same track when you are implementing a project which is almost similar to what has happened in the past. So those things we are capturing in a project closure report, and this document, it covers almost everything in terms of cost, timeline, audit issues, quality issues, outstanding work list, and various analysis also. So this document is really good document once you close the project as learning for new projects. I mean, if you're taking a new project in future. This question has come from Mr. Ashok Dash. I think Mr. Dash and myself, because he has thrown a question, what are the basic difference in GPmo and PMBOK framework? See, I say PMBOK is Bible for me also, because a lot of principles which are given in the PMBOK are really fantastic, but when it comes to practical application, you may not be able to use all of them. So what is suitable for you, you pick up those things from the PMBOK framework and adopt in your organization. So that is how we work. I don't say those cannot be picked up. They can be picked up in a different form. Maybe two things get clubbed as one. So you pick up those things from the framework and use it. So that's, I think, Mr. Ashok, I've answered your query here. And in case, Mr. Ashok, you have still something on this issue, on this question, then we can discuss it later on also. Which in your opinion, this question has come from Narayan, which in your opinion has been the biggest challenge of all in the global projects? Is it culture or value systems? I think it's may not be, I may not be able to differentiate which is culture is the biggest challenge or value, but both of them are really biggest challenge, because for example, Japanese, when I meet Japanese, if you don't call them san, they feel offended. When you say san, it means sir. They feel literally offended. And I'm sorry, even you may be junior to them in age or maybe in experience, they'll still call you san. And when you meet them, they'll shake your hand and they'll literally bow down. And they expect the same thing from others also. I'm sorry, just a second. That's how the culture differences are there across globe, and both of us are equally important. We must respect their culture and their values. They'll respect our culture, because our organization is Reliance Globalcom. It's basically a huge organization which has got which is spread across the entire globe. We have presence all over the globe. So we find people from different culture with different values, but we still respect all the culture, everyone's culture and values also. And when we plan in our project, we take into consideration these things also. these may not be noted down somewhere in the PID document that when you're dealing with Japanese you have to do this, but it is understood. It is understood when you say this project is happening in this location, so people understand through PID that this culture of people are involving in this project. As PID is same as project charter, then why is it planning phase, not in the initiating phase? See, initiating, Mr. Ashudas will take this question later on also, because I believe I have answered this. Because you have a valid point. I don't say that you don't have a valid point. I say you have a valid point. Why I'm saying that in the initiating phase, a lot of things are in plasma state, in really a plasma state, because you know how projects happen. Projects happen because on a click of a button, you are sitting in office, you get a call from your director PMO, the boss, you got a project in your hand now, and you don't know ABC about the project. You don't know who are the people involved in the project. This is how the project happens. So, because on a global scale, when the projects are happening, you don't know where the projects are going to take off. Because everyone on the business side, I mean on the sales or the product side, they are continuously working on opportunities. And suddenly this opportunity in where the customer finds, okay, fine, I need this. There's a business requirement, and he suddenly comes back to our sales team or product team. They say and says, okay, boss, take off this project now. And suddenly you find a mail from somewhere from your boss, I mean, you're nominated nominated as project manager for this particular project. This is how the project happens. So initiating phase is basically a plasma phase where you get involved with the sales team also. You are not clear what exactly is the scope. And the sales team, who's not a technical guy, who's looking from a sales perspective, you start involving a lot of people in the initiation phase, and then you actually get into once there is an approval on the technical solution given by the project team. Then you get into a planning phase. You do actual planning. You do the detailing of every activity in the plan of work and fixing up responsibility, and then it actually takes off during the kickoff meeting. I think, Mr. Ashok, you have a valid point, but I have a justification here which may not be able to meet your I think understanding or your requirement, but we can discuss on this later on. I'll share my mail ID on the last slide. It is there. Just a second. You can, if somebody wants to file some questions or something, he can use my email IDs or mobile phone number also. Now the next question which has come from Aditya Kamble. I think he has left. Okay, he has got a very good valid point here. I strongly feel that GPMO should function as a profit center for better visibility and accountability, having I dot format. Do you agree? Yes. Yes, we should function as profit center, which the profit will be incurred. I mean, the GPMO will get some revenue when they deliver the projects on time. So if that is the thing, that is the question you are trying to project here, yes, then you can become a profit center. Only it has to be an internal transfer of revenue, because as such GPMOs or PMOs, they are overhead. They don't, in IT projects also, if you are not billable, you're not earning revenue for the company. So GPMO or PMO in IT organization, you'll find they are basically an overhead. They will come in the unbillable report. That is how I look. But if you internally say on-time delivery or better control mechanism on your revenue or on your resources, will credit PMO with certain amount or certain dollar figures, then yes, GPMO can become a profit center, and they should be held accountable for this. Next question just come from Narayan Raghavan. What practices are relevant in today's context to address the value system gaps for success of global projects? I think I already covered this when I think this question was asked by Okay, you Narayan only asked this question. Okay. Okay, I think Narayan, I have answered your query, or you can shoot a mail to me. Then we can keep on discussing or deliberating on this. The next is Anant Subramanian. Hi, I am Anand from SIFI. What kind of challenge will be faced while handling multilingual projects, and what could be a solution for that? I think a common project language will be the solution for this. You define on, once you have a PID document which has gone to all the stakeholder, you define the communication plan, how frequently you want to communicate, what will be the communication document, will it be a minutes of the meeting, or you're going to use a RAID log, I mean risk, action, issues and dependency log. So once you define this communication in a multilingual project, common project language and your communication document, it holds the key. It'll surely help the project to succeed. The next question which has come from Venkat Raman. When is the right time to set up a GPMO? Is the company organization need to be big to set up a PMO? See, as you know, the GPMO is basically an overhead, but only if you do the internal transfer of revenue on some KRAs defined for GPMO, then I think then you'll find a lot of challenges in GPMO. I mean, they need to show themselves as a profit center by meeting those KRAs. One of the KRA can be delivery of project on time, or collecting revenue from your customers on time. Like in IT, people are billed. The resources who are working on site or off site, they are billed accordingly. So if you collect the revenue on time on month-to-month basis and your balance sheets are really good and there is no discrepancy, then you can set up some revenue target or some dollar figures which will be earned by GPMO. So your question is, when is the right time to set up a GPMO? When you find you have you need to have, your organization is not able to, there are multiple projects happening around, unable to control the various projects happening in the organization, and you are unable to provide a central window of transparency through which management can have a view of entire projects which are happening in the organization, then I think that is the right time you need to have a global project management office, and you need to have that many number of projects. And also it needs to have it needs to bring some global challenges, because standardization, like you people in UK, they believe in standardization. If there is a standard document, they'll keep on following it. If there's nothing standard, then there's nothing happening around. So standardization is one of the important thing, which is one of the global challenges, because you're communicating with people in different geographies, different culture, different languages, different time zones. So there has to be some mechanism on standardization. So if your organization finds you're going to get a lot of dollar values, you're going to have some revenue, and the number of projects have gone up, yes, that is the right time you can plan for a GPM. The next question which has come from Prasad: in global projects, communication is the most important process, which if we ignore, I'll repeat the questions. In global projects, communication is the most important process, which if we ignore, there will be delays in project schedule. I agree. How do we effectively handle communication in global projects? Despite having a communication plan in place, there may be issues, and how can we handle the communication issues? Yes, I agree that despite having a communication plan also, that in a global project people don't respond sometime, and you find there is a difference of opinion, or you are not able to get the response in time. The most important thing when you are dealing in a global project, human element is one of the important thing. You need to be first a human being to understand his feeling, and then a project manager with a stick. If you're human, I mean you're communicating with the stakeholder who's sitting in different geographical location with a good note, good morning or good evening, and talking to him on the phone, that builds a personal human touch. So that is one of the important elements, that only by showing a document that this is a communication plan and this is how we need to communicate will not solve the purpose. Yes, we need to have human touch, but a documentation is equally important sometimes. So you need to have combination of both the human element and a process in place for communication, and this will help you in long run. I hope I answered your question, Prasad. Why can't we have a standard for PMO office? Why do companies spend a lot of money on setting up the same process? Given the fact that every organization has different vision, but working principles are same. I agree with you. Mr. Chandrasekhar has thrown this question. Yes, we can have standards for PMO, and there are global standards also. I believe it's available on PMO processes, PMO office. It's available, and there are organizations. I mean, there are various consultancy organizations who are offering these services of setting up a global PMO using standard tools, systems, mechanisms, etc. So we can have. But what happens is the most important challenge is implementation. If you are implementing a global project management office, then I've shown you a slide on caution. So those things you must keep it in your mind, that are you doing anything of this, it will seriously affect the implementation process, and it has to be really slow with understanding, taking one step ahead and then moving backward, taking one step ahead. So this is how it works. I mean, take 2 steps ahead, you can move half step behind, but you need to understand how your people are behaving, because rather than setting up it's not a physical structure, you are trying to set up a human structure, a global structure for, because at the end of any project you'll find human beings, the human resources are important element, because they are the people who are going to drive the project. So you need to take them into consideration before you take up some initiative like this, and then you move ahead. Yes, you'll find a lot of challenges, a lot of people, they'll not own it up, but there has to be a clear directive from top or a mandate from top that we are going to implement this. So that brings, there are benefits associated with it which you need to indicate it to these people, because I felt with my experience that the moment you put a process, people don't like it. So you need to first make them adopt these processes, and they should feel tangible benefits out of it. And if they say I don't find any tangible benefit, then I think that guy is irrational or illogical. But if you find there are a lot of people who are finding, yes, there is a tangible benefit, and this guy is not finding it, then there is an irrational element in your organization, and you know how to get rid of this organization. The mandate has come. The mandate has to be followed. Somebody who come with so many years of experience, who's your boss, or who's a guiding man, who's guiding you to set up this PMO, and mandate has come, so it needs to be followed. Only thing, how it needs to be implemented, that's more of an art rather than a process. Okay, this has come from Anant Subramaniam. During GPMO, the resource cost may vary based on geographical location. How the cost is managed and tracked? See, in the beginning of my presentation, I clearly mentioned that I'll not be covering on financial and political issues, because these two domains has a different dynamics altogether. Like for example, your project was of 100 crores, or for example 100 million, $1 million, for example, $1 million, and suddenly today you find that rupee has actually depreciated. So there will be always a fluctuation. So if you want to take care of cost from a project perspective, in terms of when we are talking about global projects, then it has to be dealt in a different manner. But if you're talking about how the cost is managed and tracked, there are various tools available, like you can, for each and every activity in your project plan, you can associate a cost. One is one tool which we were using long back, not right now, because there is a tool called EVA, Earned Value Analysis, that that can be utilized. You need to put a lot of you need to give a lot of inputs in your project plan in terms of cost and resources, and then as you progress on the project, it will give you the earned value analysis report. How does GPMO get involved with the funding of projects in the organization? Okay, when we say funding of project, because there has to be a management approval. If the project scope and size is quite huge, requiring huge amount of money, then it goes to the board of director of the company, and they take a call on this based on the proposal which was built on this. They look at the proposal, and if it has strategic and business value, then the project takes off. So the question is, how does GPMO get involved with the funding of projects in the organization? The funding of projects is based on the revenue you're going to incur. If there is a revenue which is going to you're going to gain, then based on the revenue which you're going to receive from that project and the cost associated with the project, you can develop a cash flow statement, and you can calculate the various financial parameter like IRR and NPV, and then management is also aware of this, that I'm going to incur this much of revenue in this financial year or the next financial year, and then they look at the strategical benefit of this project, and then you can take a call on this. So these things are, when you build a proposal, this is part of the proposal which goes for the management approval, and then the funding of the projects happen. So GMO role is to bring GMO, though GPMO is not directly involved with the sales team or maybe technical team, but they are working in close close quarters with all these teams. So the funding of the project, ensuring that the funding of project happens based on the profitability, or you can say the revenue which can be incurred from these projects. The next question is from Ramesh. How do you manage projects which use the open source, and how do you handle the pricing globally for the product or application? How do you manage projects which use the open source? How do you handle the pricing globally for the product or application? Mr. Ramesh, I may not be able to answer this question because I don't think I've understood your question properly. So if you would like to, there's an email written on the slide. If you can throw, then we can discuss on this later on also. You can use my email ID and throw this question back to me again, and then we can discuss on this. Keshav, do we have any other questions?
I think we have answered most of the questions. If there are any question unanswered, then we can answer them offline. So now we can conclude this session.
Okay, the last thing. Yeah, the last thing before we conclude. See, in my presentation, I was not using a lot of words. I mean, the presentation which was shown to you has bullet points, but there is a separate script for what I was talking to you guys. So if somebody would like to have that script, I mean the presentation also, he can through techgeek.com, he can send me a request, and I can send a copy of that presentation along with the script. So if it can help your organization, and then it's good for me also and good for everyone. This is the way how we collaborate and learn from each other. I think Keshav, I'm finished. I don't have any other question. I think we can conclude this session now. Keshav? Hello?
Oh yeah, now we are concluding this.
Yeah, I'm closing this session now. Okay?
Thanks, Mr. Sushil, for your informative session on leadership of global PMO to meet global challenges. It was indeed an enlightening session. I would also like to thank our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. The next session in the Software Project Management webinar series is happening tomorrow, that is 20th December at 3 p.m. Topic for the webinar is Project Estimation, Techniques, Challenges and Best Practices. We will be having Mr. Rahul Sudhame, Senior Project Manager at Calsoft Private Limited as our guest speaker. So see you all tomorrow at 3 p.m. Have a nice day. Thank you.